Okay, the purpose of this video is to discuss schizophrenia and to point out what it is and what it is not. Oftentimes on television and radio, you'll hear, especially with sports and politics, they'll say, such and such person or this team has a schizophrenic approach in their game plan. On the one hand, they'll run the ball in a game, and then the next game they won't run it at all, and they'll only pass the ball. But while I'm doing this, I'm drinking Ballast Point Sculpin, and I'll be uploading the review tomorrow. That beer is considered world class. I thought it was most excellent. I was saying A, whereas most of the reviews I've been reading and watching are saying above A plus, world class. I don't see that, but nonetheless, I have no complaints. I think it's the most excellent beer. Back to schizophrenia. But schizophrenia is not split personality like a lot of people will talk about. It's not schizoid personality disorder, which is a personality disorder, and it is not is not a situation where a person has multiple personalities. That's dissociative identity disorder, and that's part of the class of mental illness called dissociative disorders, where there's a part of your personality that's disconnected from the rest. But this is what people think it is. Schizophrenia is not that. Schizophrenia really is what doctors, psychiatrists will say when they mean you're crazy. Okay, so on the street, in layman's terms, we would say that guy's crazy. He's crazy. She's crazy. But you know, mental health physicians, psychiatrists or psychologists, which is not a medical doctor, but a psychiatrist is a medical doctor, but they're not going to say the guy's crazy. I mean, they might say it at the lunchroom off the record, but on the record they'll say the patient shows symptoms of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia seems to, now listen carefully and I'll give you some details about it. And a really good doctor who's been studying this for years is E. Fuller Torrey, one of the really great doctors, but he's a little controversial. But it usually strikes young adults. We don't know why, like I've been researching it, right? But they don't know why. But it seems to hit people around age 17 up to around maybe 25 at the latest. But in that time period, early adulthood, I read an article recently on AP News that recent research shows that it probably is in the brain early on in childhood. Maybe the child is a little strange, but just a little eccentric, you know, not like what people would call crazy, but around age 17, 18, it starts to develop. And schizophrenia is usually a sort of a progressive thing, or they described it as insidious in the article, where it just slowly creeps in, and then the person is just psychotic. Now, the prognosis for someone with schizophrenia generally is not too good. But let's break it down to be a little more clear about it. Schizophrenia is described as a disease of thirds. And what that means is this, and there's two ways of looking at that. First, the first way is that 1/3 of the patients diagnosed with schizophrenia get it, and then it goes away either with drug treatment or a combination, or only usually they're going to almost always use drugs that they've been having for the last going on 40 years. But drug treatment and psychotherapy, or it could just go away on its own. So they'll get it, it goes away, and they never get it again. So it's like they went crazy for a little while and it goes away. They live a seemingly normal life. The other third gets it, it goes away, they get better, and then they get it again. So they're sort of like in and out of it. They'll have these bad breakdowns where they're in a psychosis. And a psychosis means that you hear or see things. There's only one problem. The things you hear and see aren't there. You hallucinate. You have auditory hallucinations. You'll hear things, voices talking to the people, or they'll see things. No one else can see it. Of course they can't see it. It's not there. Or they also have delusions, which is a belief in something that isn't true. Like they'll believe the FBI is trying to kidnap them so that they could send them to American Samoa to work for a peanut butter factory. There's no, it's not happening, but they believe it. So they act on it crazy. But these people go in and out of it. So that's the second third. They'll go in and out of it. Talk normal, act normal, and then they'll break down eventually, maybe due to stress or whatever. So they have to deal with it their whole lives. They usually have to take a lot of medication, do outpatient treatment. Sometimes if it gets bad enough, they have to go inpatient, sometimes involuntary. We had a governor in Louisiana that was in and out of mental institutions, but it seems like he was dealing more with a bipolar or manic depression. We'll get to that later. We'll just mention it. All right. The third is the worst case, the real chronic, the chronic schizophrenics. They always have it. They go into the psychosis around 17 to 25, probably way before 25. They get sick and they have all kind of treatment, medicine, chemotherapy, chemical therapy, medicine. Psychotherapy doesn't seem to work. They just stay sick, mentally ill, and I mean severe. Schizophrenia is the worst. In other words, there's the worst type of mental illness. In other words, there is nothing, you cannot be crazier than being schizophrenic, okay? It's the kingpin of mental illness, all right? There's no such thing as crazier than schizophrenic. Now let's look at it from another group of thirds, because there's three main types of schizophrenia, okay? You have the catatonic schizophrenics. This is a really weird type. They may have the delusions and they may have the hallucinations, but they'll be in a frozen position, sort of like a zombie. Now, all the schizophrenics have this dull personality, like they're worn out, they're exhausted, they're out of it. They probably are worn out because they usually describe their thoughts as racing through their head. They have thoughts racing all hours of the day. So it just wears them out, they're exhausted. So all of them have that kind of like robotic type. And they may not be under any drug influence, they're just out of it. Okay, so, but you got the catatonics and they'll just be frozen. Like some of them be in a pose all day long. Like you might have them in the hospital, just be, they're just frozen like a statue. And it can make some strange poses. And you could, it's really strange. You can go to the mental hospital and they're just, you grab their arm, they just bounce back. They'd be like that for hours. And if you, they're not one of those guys on the street that are trying to get money painted silver. Now these people are really, they're just frozen. They be like that for days, months, years. You can imagine how bad off they are. So that's catatonic schizophrenia. It's really strange. Now, the second type is the paranoid schizophrenic. Paranoid, they believe things, or they're thinking things are trying to hurt them, or people are trying to hurt them. So they're always looking around. You might say, well, Johnny, why you got that pistol in your briefcase? Because I know what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to have any part of it. So a lot of times they'll attack people. They'll be violent because they think you're trying to hurt them. Now you might come up to them and say, how you doing? And they'll think, how you doing, huh? You're going to ask me how I'm doing? No, I'm going to ask you how you're doing. And then they'll get in crazy conversations. Don't come up to me with this nice face because the Cubans and the CIA and Mickey Mouse and CBS News and you're mad at me because Blockbuster went out of business and you think I'm secretly working for Reebok and I'm trying to get all the cantaloupe sent to Nepal so people can climb the mountains better. Don't play these games with me. And they'll just talk. You'll just say, "What is he talking about?" And they're convinced that you're trying to hurt them. The CIA is trying to hurt them. The intelligence service of Brunei Darussalam is trying to hurt them. Paramount Pictures is after them because of some failure of a movie in 1968. And it's hard to treat them because if you try to give them the medicine, they think it's poison. You're trying to put them under mind control so you can let them go live with Charles Manson. And they'll think you're trying to put them in slavery so that they can sit there and put butter on peas one at a time for the next 42 and a half years. And possibly you'll send all of their male cousins to live in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So they believe these crazy things, and they'll try to escape. And you say, why do you live under the interstate? And I mean, a lot of these homeless people, you say, why do they live under the interstate bridge? They could go to a homeless shelter. They have food there. There's no reason to live under the bridge. But they wouldn't go to a homeless shelter because that's part of the plot. You understand? That's part of the Illuminati plot to put Mountain Dew in all the children's breakfast cereal. So they're not going to go live at the shelter. They'll stay under the bridge, especially since the concrete stops the radiation that's being beamed in from Liechtenstein to make all their hair fall out and turn men into women and girls into boys and make all the country, the country ham rancid so people will get sick. Now, and there's no use trying to talk to them. They won't go along with it. Sorry, that's the paranoid schizophrenia. Everything's a plot, and everybody's out to get them. And they don't think the TV's bugged when they watch. That's why they never watch TV. They don't think the television's bugged. They know it's bugged. They know it's bugged. They know what's up, and everybody's out to get them. Now, the third is the undifferentiated schizophrenic. Like they're just. You can't even figure out what their symptoms are. I mean, are they paranoid? Are they catatonic? They're just, and they're talking word salad, the undifferentiated. They're just, and they just may talk, when they're talking word salad, and you try to hold the count. You don't even know what they're talking, because, and all the people, in the little and the big things, and the small, and the fat, skinny, and and you just, if they could finish a sentence in a day, you'd be amazed, because they just, and they'll spend hours just talking about you don't know how it is, and my sister my sister used to hang out with Carol Burnett, and then she made Harvey Korman quit because Harvey Korman didn't even and then they'll get irate, they'll get so emotional about Harvey Korman didn't even know the Beach Boys. All right, man, he didn't know the Beach Boys. Don't blame me because of John Ford. Don't blame me because of the horse soldiers. Don't blame me because Ford and the Etzel situation. I didn't start Etzel, and then they're grabbing the wrench coming at you because they stopped making the Etzel in 1960, and you don't know what's going on, and this word salad, and all right, that's what goes on. So it's really, the normal people, anybody else that's in their right mind, be very frightened of this person. Some of them will have clang associations where they'll talk, and everything ends in like a banging sound or a bell sound. Literally all day long they'll talk about, I was eating breakfast, and and the breakfast was very hot, got like pot, and then I was going to go sleep, deep, 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 deep. It's got a rhyme, or everything ends in ding, 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 ding. I was wandering around the ward, and the doctor said, "How you feeling?" Ding, 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 ding. And I said, "I was feeling okay." Ding, 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 ding. They did this all day long for years. You can imagine they're in torment, right? So that's the undifferentiated, just all mixed up. So the treatment is, they've been trying over the years. Early on they thought it was a brain disorder, like something wrong. That you'll hear people say something's wrong with their head. Well, yeah, it's a brain disorder. They try to treat them with all kind of surgery, whatever. It didn't really work. Sigmund Freud comes along in the 1910s, 20s, 30s. He says, no, it's a problem of upbringing. It's a subconscious problem. It's their unconscious mind. They have sexual or aggressive hang-ups, and it's making them crazy. And so he tried treating those people with psychoanalysis, but it didn't work really at all. And then after that psychoanalysis died out, they went back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today, 2000s, 2010 today, with more realizing that it is a brain disorder. It's not the person's fault. It's not their parents' fault. You know, it's just a brain sickness. And we don't, and I say we, I'm not part of it. They don't have a cure for it. There are some treatments, they're not very effective, sadly. There does seem to be a stress component. Generally, the schizophrenics, if you look at their background, family life, there does seem to be indices of a lot of stress. Okay, we're not saying that it was caused by the environment, but it does seem to be related in some way, that the brain was disordered and the environment did not help it. It does seem to run in families. Everybody who had schizophrenic in their family is not going to become schizophrenic. However, there is positive correlations between schizophrenics and family, and the new cases. It only affects 1% of the US population, okay, at various levels. So it's not the parents' fault. It's not the patient's fault. It is a sickness. Now, and so that's what schizophrenia is, not a dissociative disorder. It's a brain psychotic disorder. Bipolar, and I'm not going to do a video on bipolar right now, but I'm saying bipolar or manic depression, like the Jimi Hendrix song, Manic Depression. Bipolar is a mood disorder. It is a case of terrible mood swings where the people are high, 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 but they're so high they're excited. I went to a football game Saturday, and my team, Tulane, won the last second. It was very exciting. So we were jumping up and down, saying, yay, yay. So that would be normal in that setting, right? Because you're at a game. But the person with the bipolar or the schizophrenia might be jumping up and down at a funeral, laughing, but it's a totally inappropriate setting. And it's at a level that's so extreme, it's obviously disordered. It's so abnormal. So there'll be a mania on top of the roof and all, you know, setting the roof on fire. Just wild excitement. That's the mania. And then the other extreme is they'll be in the deep depression where they want to kill themselves and won't get out of bed for a week. So that's bipolar, right? North Pole, South Pole. They don't seem to have any middle. There's no middle area for them, and they need serious treatment too, because that can turn into a really serious psychosis in their case too. But if people want me to, we'll talk about bipolar later. So and then I got history videos coming up. People seem to like the history, geography, politics videos. So thank you for watching this video production about schizophrenia, what it is and what it is not.